because people elected not to cooperate. We don't know if that was done accidentally or intentionally.
Did someone leak the NOPD investigation surrounding Officer Jeffrey Vappy on purpose or not?
That's what one city watchdog is asking after the Inspector General releases his report into the leak of evidence and how investigators face some pushback. WDSU investigative reporter Cassie Sherm live in studio to explain.
Well, Travers, we've been on the story since the beginning. In fact, we were first to report the news of that leak. But this new report breaks down the timeline as well as who did and did not help with this investigation.
I worked in narcotics. You're aware of that. In narcotics, every time I'm accused of abusing people, stealing, planting stuff, all that. That's nothing new to me.
This is part of a recording of Officer Jeffrey Vappy, who was at the center of a Public Integrity Bureau investigation for his time serving the mayor on and off the clock. This is one of 11 interviews that got out before the investigation was over.
You want the Jeffrey, right? Yep. So this perception thing is full of people can say what they want.
These interviews were not meant for the public. Originally, Stella Cement, the independent police monitor, sent an email to city council members and other investigative bodies saying there was a leak in NOPD.
Something happened. This information has been leaked from the Public Integrity Bureau.
But later we learned that wasn't the case. The leak came from the city attorney's office.
You were mistakenly given to someone that should not have had them. It was a mistake in flash drives. Those tapes have not been reviewed by me.
That's when the Inspector General began his investigation into whether how this was handled violates the Officer Bill of Rights. But in the report, it shows the IG faced initial pushback from the independent police monitor, who's also under the same ethics review board. She refused to tell the Inspector General who gave her the leaked interviews.
Somebody was given a flash drive. That person gave the flash drive to our source. Our source came to us.
She said she wouldn't share the name because she promised the source confidentiality. But in text messages from her personal phone, the police monitor reached out to the president of city council naming her source. But in the end, the police monitor had to give the name to investigators.
The IPM needs to be guided by the city code and city ordinances.
Raphael Goenecci, a government watchdog, says the independent police monitor should have reached out to the Inspector General first.
The agency to investigate this is the Office of Inspector General, not the Office of Independent Police Monitor. I think she should have referred the matter to the Office of Inspector General for them to conduct the investigation. I believe that she should have cooperated with them from the inception. And if they had been alerted to this, there may have been potentially a different outcome.
The report states Belden Batiste, one of the leaders of the mayor's recall effort, was the police monitor's source. The report says Batiste has a community connection to activist W.C. Johnson. He's the man who accidentally received the thumb drive of the Vappy investigation interviews from the city attorney's office. When the IG reached out for an interview, Johnson pled the Fifth.
When someone takes their Fifth Amendment right, they're invoking that because they don't want to expose themselves to any criminal violations.
Goenecci says there was also pushback in the actual police investigation as well. He says the mayor and former police chief Sean Ferguson refused to be interviewed, and because of this, we may never know the truth.
People that were in positions that had firsthand knowledge failed to cooperate with the public integrity investigation and also failed to cooperate with the Office of Inspector General's investigation. We don't still know the complete story because of lack of cooperation.
In the end, the Inspector General found
NOPD, the City Attorney's Office, and the Office of Independent Police Monitor all have violated certain provisions of their responsibilities with respect to how this matter was handled.
Giving multiple recommendations, including the city attorney's office should create an electronic log to document the receipt and release of any documents from the Public Integrity Bureau's investigations, and the Bureau should also have a separate case management system to maintain, store, and track all records for investigations. Now, the police monitor gave us this statement saying, quote, "I share the OIG's concerns regarding the security of PIB recordings and the inadvertent release of the particular recording. The recordings were shared with the media before I was provided a copy of them, which certainly could have impacted the integrity of an ongoing investigation. Now, for more information and an in-depth look into this investigation, you can go to WDSU.com.
All right, Cassie, thank you. New fees in Jefferson Parish. How much people there will soon pay for their recycling services.
For the first time ever, those of you who live in Jefferson Parish will pay an extra fee for recycling.
Historically, you've paid one fee for trash and recycling, but that's not the case anymore. WDSU reporter Morgan Lentis live in Gretna to explain the price that you'll soon pay. Morgan.
Travers, Gina, recycling is now its own separate contract, and today the council awarded it to local company Ramelli Waste, but it's a decision that sparked some debate in council chambers. According to parish officials, only about 30% of residents recycle currently, prompting some council members to question if it was worth continuing the service at all when the majority don't use it. The new contract was approved despite those criticisms, but it did prompt a discussion about how to better educate the public about the benefits of recycling and also how to do it properly.
Educating our participants and simplifying it moving forward, I think would be very helpful because we do have a low participation rate, and we would like to see that improved and increased.
And the owner of Ramelli Waste told me after that meeting that he plans to send out information soon so residents here in Jefferson Parish know what they can recycle and what they cannot recycle. Also, the big question, how much more are residents going to pay for that new recycling service? I'm told it will cost between $4.50 and $7.50 extra a month. Reporting live in Gretna tonight, I'm Morgan Lentis, WDSU News.
Sliding right into the WDSU first warning weather. You can see Morgan with the coat on, and thank goodness don't have strong winds like we had late last night and early this morning with temperatures as they're going, because we've got a chill coming, which could mean a light freeze for some in the North Shore. It's going to be a weather impact day. Temperatures already down into the 40s. The coolest it's been all day officially here in New Orleans is right now. We'll have to update the official low today, just before midnight. Only 50s with the help of Lake there at 57 Lakefront, and even a couple low 50s Grand Island, Buras. So those temperatures are starting to fall quick. Combination of light winds and clear skies. Lakefront winds at about 10 miles per hour. That's another reason why it's the anomaly right now across the region. But as we look at everything coming together, it's the perfect setup for a cold night. That means, check on some of the neighbors for the heat and ready to go, and maybe take the pets in tonight, especially North Shore. The cold is here. It's a brief cool down and a brief chill because the warmth is moving right back into the afternoon. Then even warmer days to come on Friday and Saturday. Maybe some of the best news is I know you've heard about some weekend potential for rain, but it might be at the right time. So maybe a few high in the sky clouds coming back late, which still allows that light freeze North Shore. Got us in a range of about 30 to 33, depending where you are. Washington Parish, can't forget about Pearl River County, Mississippi. You could be to 31, maybe Poplarville, maybe even coming down to 33 as you get into some areas near Stennis Space Center, and even some mid to upper 30s wrapping around to those typically cold areas in the South Shore. I have dropped the official low here in New Orleans to 40 since we're already at 49. A couple clouds here and there, but no rain producers tomorrow. But we're warming up quick. We're back to mid 60s. I think a decent amount of sun. But if you want to get out and maybe do some fishing here late in the week, make up for what we had the past weekend, things are looking good. There is an exercise caution still holding some of the outer waters here tonight. That's all going to go away. We're at a recent tidal minimum that'll start to pick up, maybe to help some of the fishermen by the weekend of next week. Here's Friday. There's the slim chance of an isolated shower to make a return. A little higher humidity is what you'll notice. We'll also notice those temperatures back into the 70s for highs, but we're not going to stop there. We're going to make it even warmer going into Saturday ahead of that strong front. Now, the way the setup is going for that potential for strong or severe storms is many times we need to have the core of that energy much closer to us to elevate a greater threat for severe storms. It's what we wouldn't want, and it's way north, and that's a good thing. So here's the outline from the Storm Prediction Center where the greatest risks for possible severe storms will be. There's been a little bit more northeastward movement, noting that energy is making a little farther northward track. But look to where we are under that incomplete outlined area where there will be risks that will be up for the weekend. We're still east of there, which is why there's still a very low chance late. You could have some strong, maybe severe storms and edging on that criteria. Running of the Santas on Saturday, we do have a chance of some storms coming in late, but most of the day is coming in okay. And that means for Travers and the family at the Holiday of Lights in Mandeville, I think you're looking good up until 9 for all the events sponsored by WDSU, of course. Now we get into Sunday and it's a completely different forecast. Those temperatures are going to be way down, but the sun's out and there's no chance of rain. Hopefully, getting that much-needed wind coming up. We'll talk to Sharif in a minute about that. We get another brief push of some cold and maybe a frost and freeze again North Shore by Monday morning. But then in next week, we're going to just have typical kind of cool December weather. WDSU first warning weather, 7-day forecast, a couple weather impact days for the chill